Hi children, welcome back to our channel Rise and Shine. Now, in yesterday's episode, what did we see? Yes, Raja Harishchandra planned to go to Kashi Nagar. So, they started going by walk. You know, in these days we have buses, trains, planes, and everything. But in those days, they had to go by carts or chariots. But as the king lost everything, he did not have any money to take a chariot or people behind him. So he had to go all alone with his wife and son. Now, the Raja, before going to Kashi, he wanted to Actually, he wanted to go and bathe in the river Ganga, the holy river Ganges, which was running in Kashi. He wanted to take a dip. But before going to Kashi, he had to go miles and miles on walk. So, the forest, the mountains which he passed on, so they had to do all sorts of work. See, the people who did not know to work had to cut wood. The Raja used to cut firewood, and the Rani used to, bundle all the firewood. They sold the firewood and they had to have their daily needs. Okay, children? Yes, day by day the situation was getting worse, and slowly the Raja and his family reached Kasi, where the where the sage Vishwamitra was waiting for them, and he said he came to remind them that that was the last day and the day to give. So, my dear children, the king and the queen and the prince walked all the way for one complete month till they reached Kashi. So, at the entrance, at the gates of Kashi, sage Vishwamitra was there too. Yes, he faced them and asked for the money he needed and told him that it was the last day. And Raja Harishchandra told him that, and one more day is there, and I will pay you the money by the evening. So Raja Harishchandra sent away the sage. And my dear children, do you know what happened? The Raja thought and thought for some time, and finally he came to a decision that he must sell himself as a slave and give the money to the sage. But the Rani told him that, "No, my dear king, you cannot sell yourself. You can sell me and my son, so that you will get some money to, give the sage." And now Raja Harishchandra said, "How can I sell my wife and children as slaves? I am not a cruel man to sell my wife and my son as slaves." So Raja thought for some time, and finally, when he could not do anything else, he started for the marketplace with his wife and son. And on the way, in the marketplace, he found that he shouted that he was going to sell his wife and son, who could do any work at home. And when a rich Brahman came to buy, the, the Brahman wanted to buy only the mother and not the child, because the child will be of no use to them. And the queen wept to leave her son and husband. But finally, they convinced the person, and the king convinced the queen and asked her to go with the Brahman. And the Brahman, who was willing only to buy Chandramati, was convinced to take mother and son, and finally he paid for them both and took them away with him. So the Raja Harishchandra sold away his wife Chandramati and their son Lohidasa, and he wanted to give the money to the sage. Now the Brahman paid the money for both of them, and now the Raja gave the money to sage Vishwamitra. But the sage said, "You owe me a lot of money. Okay, then, I take this as half of my loan, and you have to pay me half more." What can this poor king do? He wanted to sell himself, but his wife asked him to sell her and her child. Now the king told him, "Okay, there is 1 hour left, and I will sell myself and repay you the rest." So the king wanted to sell himself in the market. So, my dear children, I end my episode here, and I will tell you about how Sathya Harishchandra sold himself to a cemetery guard in the next episode. So, I end my episode here. Bye, children. Stay safe. Okay. Love you. Love you all, my dear.